So after IVL, it is now the time for Orbital. Orbital is a next generation atherectomy device. And in the next few minutes, I will try to explain why I call it a next generation atherectomy device. So for the sake of the discussion, I have divided my talk into the following headings. And first of all, going to the device proper. So this is the orbital atherectomy device, and it consists of 4 parts. Number 1 is OAS pump. This is the electric motor power handle. This is the lubricant solution, and there is another Viper wire. So this electric motor power handle consists of an advancer knob. There are 3 buttons. One is glide assist mode, one is low speed mode, and another is high speed mode. There is one brake defeat, and in front of this, there is a sheath cover drive shaft. The sheath cover drive shaft is equipped with a nose cone, and just proximal to it, there is an eccentrically mounted crown, which is the key game changer in the calcified lesion. Okay, the size of this crown is 1.25 millimeter only, and this crown is sufficient for all types of vessel. That means it may be used for large vessel as well as small vessel. So this is the mechanism of action of orbital atherectomy device. So if you see this here, the crown rotates around its axis at a high speed. Apart from this, it also rotates around the total system. That means the drive shaft rotates in an orbit. So it ensures 360-degree contact with the surface. And that's why the principle of differential sanding comes. That means when it comes in contact with the calcium surface, it sands away the calcium. At the same time, it flexes the healthy tissue and doesn't injure the healthy tissue too much. Apart from this, there is another mechanism of action. It also acts on the medial calcium, because when the crown rotates and the drive shaft also rotates in an orbit, then it creates a pulsatile forces which will affect on the medial calcium, and that fractures medial calcium also. So this is one video which shows the compliance of the vessel in this part is not that good. But after orbital atherectomy, see how the compliance of the vessel changes. So basically, it acts on intimal calcium as well as the medial calcium also. So this is another slide. This also shows the rotation of the device. But what is important here, that the device, orbital atherectomy device, generates the particle which is the smaller than the red blood cell. So it causes less slow flow or less no flow. And that's why the requirement of TPM is less. Another important thing is that as it rotates in orbit, so the chance of complete flow occlusion is less, and that's why the flow is preserved. This is another advantage. So just I'm going to this. So this is the situation of the vessel after orbital atherectomy, and you can see how the intimal calcium is smoothed. Now, the next important thing to say is that the centrifugal force which is generated by the orbital atherectomy is directly proportional to the velocity and inversely proportional to the radius. So when you are using it in a large vessel, you should increase the velocity, and that's why the 2 velocity button is there. Next thing, next important principle for orbital atherectomy is you should advance the bar very slowly, because when you are pushing the bar too much first, then this is the effect. And this is the ideal longitudinal motion of the orbital bar. So this is basically rota, orbital, and laser. So here, if you see that rota is having basically concentric movements, and often it occludes the artery, and that's why the tendency for the slow flow or no flow is more. But in case of orbital, it is not the thing. Now, another important thing I just like to mention, if you see that this is the movement of the rota bar and this is the movement of the orbital bar. So the tendency for guide wire bias is more for rota. Tendency for guide wire bias is more for rota. So you can use it for a tortuous vessel. So we have summarized the advantages of orbital. Number one is a quick preparation time, because it doesn't require any nitrogen pump or like those things. Just a electric power driven portable cable, which is connected from the OS to the electric motor power handle and the lubricant solution. Next is the 6F compatible guide cath. Easy manipulation of Viper wire. Viper wire is just like our regular workhorse wire. 4, one size fits all. That means you can use 1.25 bar for all types of arteries. There is less chance of perforation in larger and straight arteries, and there is less chance of bar stuck, because it can cut both antegrade as well as retrograde. It acts on both intimal and the deeper calcium, less incidence of slow flow or no flow, and there is less requirement of temporary pacemaker. But there are the situations where rota has advantage over the orbital, like aorto-osteal lesion. In aorto-osteal lesion, rota gives a better control, and orbital can be used only when you can pass the bar through the lesion and can do the retrograde. Second thing is the ISR. In those cases, only rota is approved. Fourth, it is the distal tortuous vessel. In case of distal tortuous vessel, due to guide wire bias, rota is preferable. And fourth, as lubricant is the important component of orbital, so in case of lubricant allergies, you can't use orbital. So there are several trials with orbital. Those trials are going on. Last trial is the Eclipse trial. So more than 2,300 patients with 300 plus physicians engaged in the coronary clinical trials. So I will like to conclude my talk with these two cases. This one is a very long calcium in a RCA, and this is basically calcium riddled RCA. And in this case, we have done the orbital, and this is the final result. And next case is for a patient with EF of around 30%, is having high creatinine level, around 2.5, and the patient is having just patient presents with ADHF to us. So we put this is the angio. This is the angio, and it shows there is a severe calcium in the LAD ostium. And in this case, we have used IABP. We have done the orbital for LAD, and with help of IABP, there is not slightest deterioration of hemodynamics. And we have done these cases with very minimal amount of contrast, around 15 ml. And there is nice expansion of NC balloons in these cases. And there is ultimate stent placement in this view. And This is the ultimate result. So
Conclude.
to me, it is basically the next generation atherectomy device and is the answer for most types of severely calcified lesion. Thank you.